Before we begin today's story, I want to ask you to please like and subscribe to the channel. Also, write in the comments how much free time you have right now and which country you're watching from. It's always fun to see how far this video has reached. Now enjoy the story. One disappeared into darkness. Sheriff David Bra had been working in Pierce County, Washington for over 15 years. He knew every road, every old farmhouse, and every part of the woods along the highways. But on the night of April 26, 2003, something felt strange. The night felt darker and heavier than usual. Around 11:30 p.m., he got a call. Someone said they saw what looked like a body lying in a ditch along a quiet part of Highway 302. The caller wasn't sure if it was a person or just trash, but the shape scared them enough to call 911. Sheriff Bra told the dispatch he was going to check it out. His voice was calm and professional. He had handled many calls like that. Usually it turned out to be garbage bags, broken mannequins, or fallen tree branches. But he always took every call seriously. The area the caller described was very lonely. Thick forests surrounded both sides of the narrow road. Even the sheriff's bright headlights couldn't light up the dark completely. The closest house was far away, and there was barely any phone signal. It was the kind of place where something bad could happen and no one would know for hours. Sheriff Bra slowly drove along the road. He used his spotlight to check the ditches and trees. He saw glowing eyes of raccoons, deer, and other animals, but not the shape the caller mentioned. He had been searching for about 20 minutes when his radio crackled. "Sheriff, we got another call. Same area. Different person. They saw someone walking by the road, acting strange. Maybe they're hurt or on drugs." Bra replied, "Copy that," and kept driving. 2 calls in the same area within 1 hour. That wasn't just chance. Someone was probably out there and needed help. That's when he saw it. A shadow, moving between the trees. About 50 yards ahead, he slowed down and turned on his emergency lights. Red and blue flashes lit up the trees. The shadow stopped. It looked like a person in dark clothes, standing still, staring at his car. He picked up his radio. "Dispatch, I see someone. Highway 302, mile marker 15. Person is in the woods next to the road." "Copy that, Sheriff. Do you need backup?" Bra paused. Something about the way the figure stood, too still, too strange, made his gut feel uneasy. But he was a sheriff with 15 years of experience. He had dealt with all kinds of danger. One person in the woods shouldn't scare him. Negative on backup. I'm going to talk to them. He got out of his car but stayed behind the door, using it as cover. The night air was cold. It smelled like pine trees and something else, something bad, like something rotten. "Sheriff's Department," he shouted. "Come out where I can see you." The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, a dark shape in the even darker woods. Sheriff Bra took out his flashlight and pointed the beam into the dark forest. The strong LED light showed something that made his blood run cold. The figure was definitely a person, but something was very wrong. Their clothes were torn and dirty, hanging in pieces. The way they stood was strange, like a scarecrow standing stiff in a field. "Sir, I need you to respond to my commands," Bra said loudly, using a firm, serious tone. "Step forward with your hands where I can see them." Still, the figure didn't move. Bra slowly walked closer, one hand on his gun. His training reminded him, keep your distance, stay in control, be ready for anything. As he got closer, the terrible smell grew stronger. It was the smell of death, like something dead had been left in the woods for a long time. When Bra was about 20 feet away, the figure finally moved. But it didn't walk forward. It slowly turned its head toward the sheriff. The movement was stiff, strange, like a puppet being controlled by invisible strings. Bra's flashlight lit up the figure's face. What he saw made him step back in fear. The face was falling apart. The skin hung in strips. The eyes were just dark, empty holes. But the worst part wasn't what he saw, it was what happened next. The thing opened its mouth and spoke in a rough, broken voice, like stones scraping together. "Help me." Every part of Bra's body told him to run. Get back in the car, call for help. But he was a sheriff. He had a duty. He couldn't just leave. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice shaking. "What happened to you?" The figure tilted its head to one side. The sound of bones cracking echoed in the trees. "I've been waiting," it said, "waiting so long." Then Bra noticed something else. Movement. out of the corner of his eye. He quickly moved his flashlight. More figures were stepping out from the trees. All of them looked like they were dead, rotting, falling apart. Some had no arms. Some had faces that were hard to recognize. Bra's radio suddenly came to life. "Sheriff, what's your status? We haven't heard from you in a while." His hands shook as he grabbed the radio, eyes still on the crowd closing in. "Dispatch, I need backup, right now. Multiple people here, maybe a medical emergency." He couldn't say what he was really seeing. Who would believe him? While he was talking, the first figure had come closer. A few feet away, Bra could see bugs crawling inside its rotten body. "You're the sheriff," it said, voice now clearer. "You're supposed to help people." I want to help," Bra said, "but I need you to tell me what's going on here." The figure smiled. Its teeth were brown and broken. "We're the ones who got lost, the ones who never made it home. We've been waiting for someone to find us." More figures came out of the trees. Bra could hear the wet sound of their steps in the soft ground. He could hear their clothes brushing against tree bark. The smell of death was so strong now it made his eyes water and his stomach turn. "How many of you are there?" he asked, even though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. The figure's smile grew wider. "All of us. Everyone who disappeared on this road. We're all here, Sheriff. We're all waiting." 40 minutes later, backup arrived. They found Bra's patrol car still running. The driver's door was open. His radio, gun, and flashlight were lying on the ground. There were no signs of a fight, no blood, no clues. The search that followed was the biggest in the history of Pierce County. Hundreds of people helped. Dogs, helicopters, and heat cameras were used, but they found nothing. Yet strange things continued to happen. People driving along Highway 302 started reporting something odd. Mold, rot, and something else, something worse. His flashlight lit up the room. Furniture was covered in dusty sheets, the walls were water damaged, trash and broken glass were all over the floor. "Sheriff's Department," he called again. "Where are you? Keep talking so I can find you." The voice came again, this time from upstairs. "I'm in the bedroom. First door on the right. Please hurry. I can hear him. He's moving around downstairs." Hagee's heart pounded. If the woman was upstairs and she could hear someone downstairs, then that meant he wasn't alone. Someone else was inside the house with him. He drew his gun and moved toward the stairs. His flashlight moved across the walls. Shadows danced everywhere. Every sound seemed louder. The floor creaked under his boots. Anyone in the house would know where he was now. "Ma'am, this is the sheriff. I'm coming to get you. Is there another way out of the room you're in?" "No," the voice answered softly. "There's no way out. The door is—" Sheriff Peggy reached the top of the stairs. The first door on the right was blocked, just like she said. Heavy furniture had been pushed against it, but something looked wrong. The furniture was old and dusty, like it hadn't been touched in years. If someone had moved it recently, there should be marks in the dust, but there were none. "Ma'am, I'm right outside," Peggy said. "I'm going to help you move the furniture." He pushed the dresser. It moved too easily, like it was placed there just for show, not to stop someone. The door opened. Peggy stepped inside the bedroom. The room was empty. Not just empty of people, it had nothing inside. No bed, no dresser, no photos. Just dust on the floor that hadn't been touched in years. The only footprints in the dust were Peggy's own. "Hello?" he called out, confused. "Where are you?" Then he heard something chilling. His own voice, from downstairs, saying, "Ma'am, this is the sheriff. I'm coming upstairs to get you." Peggy's hand shook. He had just said those words. Now someone, or something, was repeating them in his voice from the floor below. He slowly walked to the top of the stairs and pointed his flashlight down. In the beam, he saw a figure moving in the kitchen. It was wearing a sheriff's uniform, just like his, but something was wrong. The way it moved looked strange, too stiff, too slow, like it was pretending to be human, but didn't really know how. "Is there another way out of the room you're in?" his own voice asked from downstairs, repeating exactly what he had said earlier. Peggy grabbed his radio. "Dispatch?" he whispered, but there was only static. No signal, no help. He was trapped in an abandoned house with something that was pretending to be him. The figure started climbing the stairs. Peggy's flashlight showed it clearly now. It wore the same uniform and badge, but the face, something was very wrong. It was too pale, too still, like a wax mask pretending to be human. "Ma'am, I'm right outside," it said again, in Peggy's voice. "I'm going to help you move the furniture." Peggy backed away from the stairs, looking for another way out. There was a window at the end of the hallway, but it was boarded up from the outside. He was trapped. The thing's footsteps were getting closer. Every step made a wet, sticky sound like it was dragging something behind it. That's when Peggy understood the horrible truth. There had never been a woman in the house. The 911 call, the voice begging for help, the blocked door. It was all a trap. Something inside this house had made the call, using a fake voice to sound like a woman. It wanted him to come. The creature reached the top of the stairs. In the flashlight's harsh light, Peggy saw the truth. The uniform wasn't real. It looked like plastic or rubber. The badge wasn't metal. It was fake. And the face, it was a horrible, twisted version of a human face, like someone had tried to sculpt a person from memory and got it all wrong. "Hello," it said again in his voice. "Where are you?" Peggy tried to run, but his legs wouldn't move. Something was stopping him, freezing him. He couldn't speak. He couldn't scream. He could only watch as the thing came closer, its movements strange and jerky. The last message from Sheriff Peggy's radio came at 3:23 a.m. "Dispatch, something's wrong here. This isn't, the house is, help me." Then silence. When the search team came the next morning, they found Peggy's patrol car outside the old house. The engine was still running. The door was open. His radio was on the ground, smashed. The house looked untouched. No signs anyone had broken in. The police dogs lost Peggy's scent at the front door. 3 days later, investigators checked the 911 recording. The voice that asked for help that night wasn't a woman at all. Voice analysis showed it was Sheriff Peggy's own voice, just higher, like it had been changed. And even more disturbing, the 911 call came in at 2:47 a.m., the exact time Peggy was driving to the house. The call didn't come from inside the house. It came from inside his patrol car. The house at 1247 Crow Creek Road was torn down 6 months later. But some people say that doesn't matter. On quiet nights, when it's really dark, people driving past the empty land still hear strange radio noises. Sheriff Peggy's voice, calling for backup that will never come. Morrison tried to stay calm. He didn't want to make things worse. "Sir, I need to see your license and registration," he said. The man slowly reached into his coat and pulled out a wallet. As he handed over the license, Morrison noticed something strange. The man's fingers were very long and thin, almost like bones. The license said his name was Robert Henley, 54 years old, and he lived about 30 miles south. "Mr. Henley, I'm going to check your information. Please stay in your car," Morrison said, and began walking back to his patrol car. But something made him look over his shoulder. Henley was watching him in the side mirror, and now he looked different. His calm expression was gone. He looked excited, like he was waiting for something. As Morrison reached his patrol car, his radio crackled. "Unit 7, this is dispatch. That license checks out clean. But Jake, the address is strange. That house has been empty for 6 years. "Copy that," Morrison replied, but his focus was on something else. He saw headlights coming toward him fast. Another car or truck was heading straight for his patrol car. Then he saw it again, the strange reflection. This time, it was in his own windshield. It showed the same scene he saw earlier, a patrol car on the side of the highway, lights flashing, and a body in a sheriff's uniform lying on the road. Now he could see the body better, face down, arms spread out, with a dark pool under it. The uniform, it was his. The name tag even said Morrison. The headlights were almost there. It was a large truck going too fast. It drifted into Morrison's lane, heading straight for his car. "Jesus!" Morrison yelled and jumped away just in time. The truck crashed into his patrol car, smashing it into the sedan. Metal screamed, glass shattered. The truck driver never hit the brakes. He had fallen asleep at the wheel. Morrison rolled away, bruised and bleeding, but alive. He stood up and looked at the wreck. His blood went cold. Lying on the road, just like in the reflection, was a body in a sheriff's uniform, face down, arms spread. But it wasn't Morrison. It was someone, or something, wearing a uniform exactly like his, even the name tag. With shaking hands, he turned the body over. The face looked just like his, too perfect, like a wax figure or a computer image. Morrison stepped back in shock. He looked for Henley, but he was gone. The sedan was empty, the door open, no sign of him anywhere. Morrison's radio was broken in the crash, so he used his phone to call dispatch. "Kelly, this is Jake. I need ambulances and backup now. There's been a serious accident." There was a pause. "Jake, you just called in 2 minutes ago. You said everything was fine and you were letting the driver go." Morrison's heart sank. "No, I never called. My radio is destroyed." Another pause. "Jake, the log shows your call came in at 1:28 a.m. You said you were resuming patrol." Morrison looked at his phone. It said 1:31 a.m. But that couldn't be right. Everything that happened with Henley took at least 15 minutes. Emergency teams arrived 10 minutes later. They found 3 vehicles, the patrol car, the sedan, and the truck. There were only 2 bodies, the truck driver who had a heart attack and the strange copy of Morrison. The sedan was registered to Robert Henley, but when they checked the address, it was an old abandoned house. No one named Henley had ever lived there. The coroner later examined the fake Morrison. The body wasn't fully human. It had Morrison's DNA, but things were wrong. Too many ribs, organs in the wrong places, perfect teeth. Like someone tried to build a human, but didn't quite get it right. 2 weeks later, Morrison went back to work, but he was never the same. He started seeing his own patrol car in places it shouldn't be, sometimes even following him. Other officers saw it too. Some said they got radio calls in Morrison's voice when he was off duty. Drivers reported being stopped by Sheriff Morrison. He would ask them, "Do you see anything strange in your mirrors?" When they looked, they saw what Morrison had seen, a patrol car, flashing lights, and a dead sheriff on the road. Morrison tried to tell people what happened. But how do you tell someone you saw your own dead body? 3 months later, he retired. His replacement found something strange in Morrison's patrol car. Under the seat was Robert Henley's license. But it was different. The photo was the same man, but the address was different, and the expiration date was 30 years in the future. On the back, in Morrison's handwriting, were the words, "He's still out there, and he's learning." Morrison moved to Florida and took a job as a mall security guard, far away from the roads and the dark highways. But sometimes, late at night, he still gets calls. When he answers, he hears his own voice saying, "Good evening, officer. Is there a problem?" Chen had been walking around the house for hours. The footprints in the dirt were deep and evenly spaced, like someone had been walking slowly and steadily. "Dispatch, I see some strange footprints here," Chen said into his radio. "Looks like someone has been walking in circles around the house. I'm going to see if I can get inside." His body camera showed him walking to the back door. He tested the handle. It was on. As he pushed it open, the old hinges creaked loudly. Chen pulled out his flashlight and stepped inside. "Sheriff's Department," he called. "If anyone is here, please speak." The body camera recorded everything clearly. The kitchen looked normal. There were dishes on the counter, a half-full coffee pot, and a folded newspaper on the table. The date on it was September 8th, 7 days ago. But as Chen moved further into the house, things started to look strange. In the living room, all the furniture had been pushed to the walls. The middle of the floor was empty. The carpet there was worn down badly, like someone had been walking over the same spot again and again. Chen knelt to look closer. "What the hell?" he whispered. His camera showed that the worn spot on the carpet was a perfect circle, just like the footprints outside. It looked like someone had been walking in circles, both inside and outside the house. Chen continued upstairs to check the bedroom. Later, experts would study this part of the camera footage frame by frame, because what it captured was beyond explanation. In the master bedroom, Chen found the Hartwell family. They were all standing still in the corner of the room, facing the wall, both parents and their 2 children. None of them moved. Chen's flashlight lit them up, and the camera picked up his sharp gasp. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "Dispatch, I need backup and EMS. I found the family, but something's wrong." He slowly walked closer, calling out to them. They didn't respond. As he got near, the camera showed why. They weren't alive, but they didn't look dead either. They stood straight, eyes open, staring at the wall. Their skin looked fake and waxy, like mannequins. Then the most terrifying detail appeared on camera. When Chen's flashlight moved down, it showed their feet, worn down to the bone. It looked like they had been walking for days without stopping. "My God," Chen breathed. "Dispatch, I need the coroner here. I don't know what I'm looking at." That's when he heard it. Footsteps downstairs, slow, steady, walking in a circle in the living room. The body camera recorded the sound. Step, 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 in a never-ending loop. Chen pulled out his gun and headed for the stairs. "Sheriff's Department! Who's down there? Show yourself." The footsteps didn't stop. Chen's flashlight lit up the stairs as he went down. When he got to the living room, he saw the source. A tall, thin figure was walking in a circle, following the worn path in the carpet. It wore what looked like an old, torn suit. Its face was in shadows, but the camera caught flashes of pale skin stretched tightly over bony features. "Stop! Put your hands where I can see them," Chen shouted. But the figure didn't stop. It just kept walking. Chen tried to block its path, but every time he stepped in front of it, the figure walked through him, like he wasn't there at all. The camera showed Chen growing more panicked as he tried again and again to stop the figure. His radio calls got more urgent. "Dispatch, I need backup. Something is seriously wrong here." But no one answered. The radio only made static. Then Chen noticed something that chilled him to the bone. In the reflection of a mirror on the wall, he could see himself clearly. But the walking figure had no reflection at all. Chen backed toward the front door. His camera still showed the strange figure walking in circles. Upstairs, the family remained silent. Then he heard it. Footsteps upstairs. That same slow, steady pace, now moving around in the bedroom. The Hartwell family had started walking. Chen heard their feet, worn to the bone, scraping on the wooden floor. He turned, ran out the front door, and sprinted to his patrol car. His body camera bounced as he ran, but it kept recording. As he looked back at the house, the camera captured something no one could explain. Every window in the house was now glowing, but it wasn't from lights. It was a pale, cold light, like moonlight. And in each window, the camera saw silhouettes, shadowy figures walking in circles. Not just the Hartwell family. There were dozens of them, all moving in the same endless loop. Chen's final radio message was clear on the recording. "This is Deputy Chen. I'm leaving the Hartwell property now. Do not send backup. Do not come here. Something is very wrong with this place." The body camera shut off at exactly 12:47:33, 55 minutes after Chen arrived. When he didn't check in the next morning, a search team was sent. They found his patrol car in the driveway, engine running, door open, but Chen was gone. Inside the house, they found the Hartwell family just as the video had shown, standing still in the bedroom, facing the wall. But now, they were clearly dead. The coroner said they had died about 7 days earlier, from dehydration and exhaustion. They had just walked until they couldn't. The worn carpet and the footprints outside stayed a mystery. Chen's body camera was found later, clipped to a tree about 50 yards from the house. When they watched the footage, they found something even stranger. The hours after Chen vanished. The video showed the empty yard, quiet and still. But every 17 minutes, a person in a deputy's uniform walked past, circled the house once, and disappeared into the trees. It walked slowly and steadily, just like the figure in the house. Digital experts said it was Deputy Marcus Chen. But that couldn't be. He had been missing for 3 hours when that part of the video was recorded. In the last frame of the video, something terrifying appeared. In the reflection of Chen's patrol car window, just barely visible, was Chen himself, standing in one of the glowing windows. He was walking in a circle, just like all the others. Chen was never found. The Hartwell house was destroyed 6 months later. But locals say that on some nights, when the fog is heavy, you can still see the lights and the shadows of people walking in circles inside. Through the Oregon forest, people can still see light in the windows of a house that isn't there anymore. And on quiet nights, you might hear the sound of footsteps, slow and steady, walking in circles through rooms that are now just a broken foundation. The sheriff's midnight prisoner. Sheriff Linda Vasquez worked alone at a small jail in rural New Mexico. For 6 years, she had the midnight shift, the one nobody else wanted. The jail had only 8 cells and usually held just a few people arrested for being drunk. But on the night of December 21, 2016, something happened that changed everything. At 2:15 a.m., the front door buzzer rang. Vasquez looked up and saw a man standing outside the glass door. He was tall, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit, and had both hands pressed against the glass like he was asking for help. Vasquez went to the door carefully. In all her years, no one had ever come to the jail in the middle of the night on their own. The security camera showed the man was in his 30s. He had short black hair and pale skin. His jumpsuit looked like a real prison uniform, but something about how he answered, "I need to turn myself in. I escaped from a prison transport 3 days ago." Vasquez frowned. "What's your name? Where were you coming from?" "Daniel Morrison. Was being moved from Cibola County to the state prison. The van crashed on Highway 60. I ran away, but I can't keep running." Vasquez checked her computer. There had been a crash on Highway 60 3 days ago, but the report said all prisoners were accounted for. No one was missing. Still, the man looked truly scared. "I'll have to verify your story," Vasquez said. Step back from the door. She let him in. When I, as more died, Vasquez's hand moved toward her gun. "What did you say?" "The van rolled 3 times. I was thrown out the back. I broke my neck, but somehow I got up and started walking. I've been walking ever since. I don't know where I belong." Vasquez stared at him. His skin was grayish. His eyes were completely black, no whites, no pupils. She reached for her radio, but Morrison raised his hands. "Please don't. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I want to go back to my cell. I think that's where I'm supposed to be. Everything telling her. Vasquez paused. There was something sad about him. I need to make some calls, she said. Have a seat. He sat quietly while she tried to call the transport company and the state prison. But every number she dialed was either busy or went to voicemail. Nothing worked. After an hour, Vasquez made a choice she would regret forever. She booked Morrison into the jail and put him in cell 6, the one furthest from everyone else. You'll stay here in protective custody until we figure this out, she told him. He nodded and walked to the cell. As she locked the door, Vasquez noticed it was freezing inside. Her breath came out in little white clouds. Do you need anything? She asked. Morrison sat on the cot and looked at her. How long have I been dead? Vasquez's heart sank. Mr. Morrison, you're not dead. You're here. You walked in. Dead people don't talk. Morrison smiled. His teeth were black. Then why can't I feel my heartbeat? Why don't I have a shadow? Why is my skin cold? Vasquez backed away. She remembered the missing shadow. Now the sense. Back to her desk, but she kept glancing down the hallway at cell 6. By 4 a.m., the other inmates started acting strangely. One man paced, whispering about the cold one in cell 6. A woman began screaming that shadows were crawling on the walls. Vasquez checked the security monitors. Cell 6 showed as empty, but when she looked down the hallway, she could see Morrison sitting right there. At 5:30 a.m., Morrison called her. Sheriff Vasquez, can you come here? I remembered something. Against her better judgment, she walked to the cell. Morrison was standing at the bars. His jumpsuit was torn and stained with something dark. I remember the crash now, the metal going through me, my ribs breaking, everything went black. He pulled up his shirt and showed her his chest. There was a massive wound. His ribs were sticking out. The flesh was torn. He shouldn't be alive. I died that day, Sheriff, but something won't let me rest. It keeps pulling me back to places like this. Prisons, jails, places I lived in too long. Vasquez backed away in shock. This isn't possible. Morrison looked at her. Dead doesn't always mean gone. Sometimes it means lost. As the sun rose, Vasquez called her supervisor and begged for help. When the morning shift came at 7 a.m., they found Vasquez sitting at her desk, staring blankly. Linda, are you okay? Asked Deputy Martinez. Check cell 6, she whispered. Martinez walked down the hallway and looked inside. Linda, cell 6 is empty. There's no one there. But when he checked the intake log, there it was in Vasquez's handwriting. Daniel Morrison. Processed at 3:15 a.m. Cell 6. Protective custody. The security footage told the same story, but on the screen, cell 6 had been empty all night, what the cameras saw. When she answers, she hears a familiar voice say, Sheriff Vasquez, I think I'm ready to go back to my cell now. 6 months after the event, the county jail was permanently closed. Other staff had also reported seeing and hearing dead inmates asking to be locked up again. Now, the building sits empty, but locals say they still see lights in the cell windows at night and hear metal doors slamming shut in a building that no longer has power. The last drive to Morrison Ranch. As Sheriff Coleman drove toward the Morrison Ranch, he felt his foot pressing down harder on the gas pedal. It was like something else was controlling him. I can't stop, Coleman said into his radio. Something is making me drive there. Fight it, Rick, Martinez replied. You have to break the pattern. But the patrol car kept speeding down Ranch Road 170. The speed was too high for the dangerous curves. Coleman tried to hit the brakes, but his foot wouldn't listen to his mind. Martinez, I can see the ranch, Coleman said. There are lights in the windows, but that place has been empty for years. Those lights aren't real, Rick, Martinez warned. That's what killed my deputies. Don't look at the lights. But Coleman couldn't look away. As he got closer, he saw figures in the windows. They looked like people, but their movements were strange, too stiff and robotic, like broken dolls. Then the figures all turned to look at him, and Coleman felt a wave of horror. They all had his face. Dozens of Sheriff Rick Coleman staring from the windows, all with lifeless eyes. Martinez, they look like me, Coleman whispered. How is that possible? Every night you die, Rick, Ranch keeps your deaths. It collects them. Those are all the times you've died in the past 3 years. Coleman's car was now flying toward the sharp turn in the road, the same curve where he had died over and over. He could see the huge oak tree that always killed him. But this time, something was different. This time, he saw another patrol car already wrapped around the tree. Then another, and another. The roadside was full of wrecked cars, all of them his, all marked Brewster County Sheriff, all with the same dead body behind the wheel. "Oh God," Coleman whispered. "How many times have I died?" "Every night for 3 years, Rick. That's 1,095 times. But tonight can be different. Tonight you can stop it." Coleman gripped the steering wheel tight. He fought the invisible force pushing him forward. Bit by bit, he slowed the car. Finally, he turned just in time to miss the tree. The car went off the road, rolled a few times, and landed in a ditch. He crawled out of the wreck, bruised but alive. His radio was broken, but Martinez's voice still came through, soft and shaky. "Rick, are you there?" "I'm here," Coleman said. "I'm alive." "Good. Now, look at the ranch." Coleman looked. The lights in the windows were going out, one by one. The figures were disappearing, fading like smoke. The force that had been driving him to his death was gone. "It's over," Martinez said. "You broke the cycle." Coleman walked back toward the road. He planned to call for help, but when he got there, he saw something that made him freeze. The roadside was covered with the remains of over 1,000 patrol cars. Some were rusty, some falling apart. All had the same sheriff logo. All were his, and standing among the wreckage was Sheriff Martinez. Coleman gasped. Martinez looked exactly like an older version of himself. "Hello, Rick," Martinez said. "I'm you, 30 years from now. I became sheriff after you died, and I've been trying to save you ever since." "Coleman, differently when you're dead, Rick," the older man said. "For you, it's been 1 hour repeating again and again. For me, it's been 30 years. I finally figured out how to reach you and break the loop, but it took a long time." The older Coleman gave a sad smile. "You can rest now, Rick. Your death has been fixed. You're free. But I have to stay. There are others like you, officers stuck in their own death loops, and they need help." As the sun rose over Ranch Road 170, the younger Coleman began to fade. He finally felt peace after reliving the same hour for years. The last thing he heard was Martinez's voice on the radio, calling out again. "This is Sheriff Martinez, badge number 451. Can you hear me? I'm here to help." The Morrison Ranch was torn down 6 months later, but strange radio messages still come through at 3:33 a.m. Officers driving alone at night sometimes hear a voice warning them about dangerous calls. They can 7. The Sheriff's Shadow Patrol. Sheriff Amanda Cross had been working in rural Idaho for 9 years. She had seen many strange things, but nothing like what began in October 2020. It started with strange reports from local people. They said they saw her patrol car in places where she wasn't. Soon, the reports got weirder, and Amanda began to question what was real. The first strange call came on October 15th at 6:47 p.m. Mrs. Eleanor Hartman, an old woman who lived alone on Birch Creek Road, called the sheriff's office in confusion. "I just saw Sheriff Cross drive past my house," she said, "but she was driving backward, really slowly. When I waved at her, she didn't wave back. She just stared straight ahead with a blank face." The dispatcher, Tom Willis, knew that Sheriff Cross was at the county courthouse at that moment, doing paperwork from an earlier arrest. She had been there for over an hour. Willis called her on the radio. "Amanda, we got a call from Mrs. Hartman. She says she saw your patrol car on Birch Creek Road about 10 minutes ago. That wasn't you, was it?" Amanda answered right away. "No, Tom. I've been at the courthouse since 5:30. I haven't left." "That's what I thought," Willis said. "Maybe someone has a car that looks like yours." But it wasn't just one mistake. Over the next week, more people called with the same kind of report. They all said they saw Sheriff Cross's patrol car acting strangely in the middle of the night. The car always moved slowly through quiet neighborhoods. Sheriff Cross was behind the wheel, but she never responded when people tried to get her attention. On October 22nd, Amanda decided to investigate the reports herself. That night, at 11:15 p.m., she was driving down Birch Creek Road when she saw something that made her hit the brakes hard. About 200 yards ahead, her headlights lit up another patrol car. Amanda grabbed her radio. "Tom, I see the fake patrol car. Birch Creek Road near the old Miller farm. I'm going to check it out." "Copy that, Amanda. Be careful," Tom replied. Amanda drove slowly toward the car. Her hand rested on her gun. She could see someone inside wearing a sheriff's uniform. The figure sat perfectly still, staring straight ahead. She parked about 30 feet behind it, got out, and aimed her flashlight at the car. "Sheriff's Department," she shouted. "Step out of the vehicle with your hands where I can see them." The figure didn't move at all. Amanda walked up to the driver's window and knocked on the glass. "I said step out of the vehicle." Then, the figure turned its head to look at her, and Amanda froze. The face looking back at her was her own, but it wasn't right. The face looked blank, like a mannequin. The eyes were wide open, but lifeless. No emotion. Amanda stumbled backward, her heart racing. Then the copy of her smiled, but it was a cold, fake smile. A mechanical expression that didn't touch the eyes. It slowly mouthed some words. "You can't stop us." Amanda tried to call for help, but her radio only made static. Her phone had no signal. She was completely alone. Then the fake patrol car's engine turned on, but it didn't move forward or backward. Instead, it slid sideways without turning its wheels. Amanda watched in fear as the car glided into the darkness and disappeared. She spent the rest of the night searching, but there was no sign of the car or the strange figure inside. The next morning, she filed a report, but her boss didn't believe her. "Amanda, you've been working a lot of overtime," said Chief Morrison. "Maybe take a few days off, get some rest." But Amanda knew what she had seen. She started digging through the history of her patrol car, looking for the previous driver, Deputy Sarah Kellerman, had died when the car rolled over during a high-speed chase. But here's what really scared Amanda. Kellerman looked almost exactly like her. Same height, same build, same hair. They could have been sisters. Amanda kept investigating. She read witness reports from the night Kellerman died. Several people said they kept seeing her patrol car driving around for weeks after the accident. People had once seen Deputy Kellerman's patrol car driving the same routes she had patrolled when she was alive. Those strange sightings had eventually stopped. But now they were happening again. This time, the person behind the wheel didn't look like Kellerman. It looked like Sheriff Amanda Cross. That night, Cross went back to Birch Creek Road, hoping to catch the strange patrol car on camera. She parked in a hidden spot with a camera in hand, ready to record. At exactly 11:15 p.m., just like before, the duplicate patrol car appeared. But what Cross saw this time made her question her sanity. There wasn't just one car. There were dozens. A long line of identical patrol cars moved slowly down the road. Each one had someone in the driver's seat, and each person looked like Amanda Cross, but they were all slightly different. Some had longer hair, some wore different uniforms, and some looked younger or older. It was like seeing different versions of herself from other worlds or times. She tried to take pictures, but her camera wouldn't work. All the black. Then she tried to start her own patrol car, but it wouldn't start either. She could only watch in silence as the ghostly line of cars disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, when she arrived at the station, Chief Morrison was waiting for her with a worried face. "Amanda, we need to talk," he said. "Tom got some strange calls last night." "What kind of calls?" Cross asked. "According to your timesheet, you clocked out at 6 p.m. and went home." Amanda felt dizzy. "That's impossible," she said. "I was home all night." Chief Morrison showed her the reports. 7 different people had seen Amanda's patrol car between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. She was acting strangely, and she didn't respond when people tried to talk to her. "Amanda," Morrison said, "do you remember being out last night?" She opened her mouth to say no, but something stopped her. She remembered watching Birch Creek Road. But after that, her memory was blurry. Did she go home, or had she somehow joined that line of patrol cars? In the weeks that followed, the sightings got worse. People reported seeing Amanda's patrol car in many places at the same time. She had solid proof of where she was during these times, but the calls kept coming. Then came November 7th, the worst night of all. Cross got a phone call from a woman named Janet Murphy who lived on Oak Street. "Sheriff Cross?" Janet said, her voice shaking. "I know this sounds crazy, but I'm looking out my window right now, and I see you sitting in your patrol car across the street. You've been there for an hour, just staring at my house. But I know you're not really there, because you're talking to me on the phone." Amanda rushed to the window of her office. She could see Oak Street from there. And yes, there was a patrol car, just like hers, parked where Janet said. Amanda used binoculars to look inside the car. There was someone sitting in the driver's seat, a sheriff in uniform. The figure didn't move. "Mrs. Murphy," Cross said, "lock your doors and stay inside. I'm going to handle this." She drove to Oak Street and parked behind the strange patrol car. As she walked closer, the figure inside slowly turned to look at her. It had her face, again, the same lifeless, empty face. But this time its voice was exactly like Amanda's, but hollow and cold. "You can't stop us, Amanda. We're getting stronger. Soon, there will be so many of us that no one will remember who the real one is." Amanda pointed her gun. "What are you? What do you want?" The duplicate smiled. "We are what's left behind. Every patrol, every shift, every moment of service leaves a shadow. We are those shadows, given form. And now we patrol in your place, because service never ends, not even after death." The strange car started to fade away, becoming see-through. "You will join us soon, Amanda. Your time as the real one is almost over." Cross pulled the trigger, but the bullets went straight through the ghostly figure. In seconds, the car and driver were gone. Amanda Cross resigned the next day. She moved far away, changed her name, and started over in a different state. Now she works as a night security guard in a shopping mall in Ohio. She stays far from law enforcement, but it doesn't matter. No matter where she goes, people say they see a woman who looks just like her, driving a sheriff's patrol car that no longer exists. The sightings follow her across state lines, like something is trying to continue the patrol, even if she doesn't want it to. At night, when Amanda walks through the empty mall, she sometimes catches her reflection in the store windows. And she wonders, is that really her? Or just another duplicate, still out there on patrol? A patrol that never ends.